preventive antibiotics in relation to this particular incident or are eligible for it, you are also eligible for the vaccination, so please do come forward.
Also this lunchtime, no let-up in strikes on Iran on Persian New Year, as energy bills here are forecast to soar by more than £300. A second chance for breakthrough Alzheimer's drugs to be made available on the NHS. K-pop fans, get ready. One of the world's biggest bands is back. And the park runner beating all comers at the age of just 9.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Romilly Weeks.
Good afternoon. The family of a teenager who died from meningitis in the Kent outbreak have described their immeasurable loss as the number of confirmed and suspected cases has risen to 29. 18-year-old Juliet Kenny is one of 2 victims who've died. Today, her family launched an appeal for teenagers and young people to be routinely given access to the meningitis B vaccination. Meanwhile, hundreds continue to queue for emergency vaccine and antibiotic treatment in Kent. Layla Hayes has the latest.
Long queues once again outside the University of Kent this morning as demand for the meningitis vaccine continues to grow. Also rising the number of cases linked to the outbreak.
Good morning.
Announced at a press conference in Canterbury.
There are 29 cases as of yesterday, 5 p.m. 18 are lab confirmed and 11 are under investigation, and sadly 2 died, so condolences to the families of those who did. Luckily, we've got no further deaths to report.
One of those who died was 18-year-old A-level student Juliet Kenny. Alongside a new photo of her with her family, her father has now released a statement calling for wider access to the meningitis B vaccine. In it, he said, "No family should experience this pain and tragedy. This can be avoided. Juliet's impact on this world must be lasting change. Now is the time to ensure families are safe from the impact of meningitis B." Yesterday afternoon, the queue for the vaccine was so long, many students had to be turned away. But health experts say more vaccine centres have now opened.
As of this morning, we have 4 vaccine sites, 2 in Canterbury, 1 in Ashford and 1 in Faversham, delivering both prophylactic antibiotics and the vaccine. And we have delivered more than 2,500 doses of vaccine.
If you have had preventive antibiotics in relation to this particular incident or are eligible for it, you are also eligible for the vaccination, so please do come forward.
The vaccines are now being offered to more people, but health officials say it's too early to say whether a national vaccine programme should be introduced. Right now, they're hoping this is enough to stop the outbreak spreading. Layla Hayes, ITV News.
And some breaking news now. Police Scotland say a 34-year-old man understood to be Iranian has been arrested after trying to get into Faslane Naval Base. That's where Britain's nuclear submarines are based, and we'll have more on that throughout the day. Meanwhile, explosions have rocked Tehran once again, and Iran's retaliation continues apace with attacks on Israel and several Gulf states. And the potentially disastrous effect of the war on UK energy prices is becoming clearer. More on that too in a moment. First, with the latest on the conflict, here's Faye Barker.
Today is no ruse when Iranians mark the Persian New Year. But there was no let-up in strikes on Tehran overnight as rescue workers assess damage from the latest Israeli strikes. Today is also Eid, the end of Ramadan. In Old Jerusalem, Muslims here were forced to gather outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque rather than inside due to restrictions. Holidays mean little though as this war nears the end of its 3rd week. Some Iranian attacks have broken through Israel's Iron Dome, with residential areas in and around Tel Aviv struck. The Gulf region's energy infrastructure also remains a target. This was Dubai this morning. And elsewhere, there are reports of fires at a Kuwaiti oil refinery. Israel, though, has promised to hold off on further attacks on Iran's gas fields after being asked to do so by President Donald Trump.
Israel acted alone against the Slawiya gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding out.
America's use of the UK's air bases, including RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire, are for what the government calls defensive missions only. But today, Iran's foreign ministries warned that allowing the US to use the bases is considered participation in aggression. State TV in Iran has now broadcast pictures of the new supreme leader amid speculation over his whereabouts or if he is even still alive. But it's not known how recent this footage is. Faye Barker, ITV News.
And here, the energy price cap could soar by more than £300 a year, according to the first forecast since the start of the Iran war. The Chancellor has promised help for British energy customers, but an unexpected jump in government borrowing costs may now put that in jeopardy. Over to our political reporter, Jasmine Cameron-Cheleshi. Jasmine, this is a worrying prediction and a bit of a nightmare for the Chancellor, isn't it?
That's right, Romilly, and as you say, there are warnings today that the Ofgem price cap could surge to £1,973 a year in July. That would be for typical dual-fuel households. That would amount to an increase of around £332. And experts warn that even if wholesale prices return to their pre-conflict levels, some of that volatility has already been baked into the system, and we could still see higher prices during that July to September period. Now, the government did recently announce a £53 million package of support for lower-income rural households reliant on heating fuel. But certainly they're going to face more calls for support. The Tories are already urging the government to scrap the planned fuel duty rise and build new oil rigs in the North Sea. The ministers will need to balance some of those political calls with the realities of public finances. Figures today show that government borrowing rose to £14.3 billion last month. That's the second highest level that it's been in February since records began. Now, the Prime Minister has conceded that the longer this conflict goes on, the bigger the impact on the cost of living. And certainly ministers say that they'll do whatever is necessary to support households. But what that means in practice and how much all of this could cost is still unclear.
Right, Jasmine in Westminster, thank you. Entering a football match without a ticket becomes a criminal offence this weekend, just in time for Sunday's Carabao Cup final at Wembley. It comes 5 years after thousands of ticketless fans stormed the stadium for the Euro 2020 final, played in 2021. And Neil Connery is here with more. Neil, I think a lot of people are going to remember that incident, and people are going to be surprised that this isn't already a crime, aren't they?
It is bizarre. Until now, there has been no specific legal penalty for entering a football match without a ticket. Those often caught are ejected without any further punishment. But this new law means that entering a football match in England and Wales without a ticket will become a criminal offence. Offenders face a ban of up to 5 years, as well as a £1,000 fine. Now, it comes, as you say, after that serious disorder at the Euros final between England and Italy at Wembley in 2021. More than 2,000 fans forced their way in illegally then. There were 17 mass breaches of disabled access gates and emergency fire doors. An FA commissioned report said the disorder could have led to deaths. Now, this new act is also designed to deal with tailgating, where those without tickets sneak in behind ticket holders. It will also be illegal to knowingly attempt to gain entry using forged tickets, passes or accreditation documents, or posing as staff. And all of this will be in place for Sunday's Carabao Cup final, of course at Wembley, between Manchester City and Arsenal. There were 69 arrests last year at the final then. The majority of those were for people entering without a ticket.
Right, Neil, just in time. Thanks for setting all of that out. A group of MPs says the government is not doing enough to help people affected by coastal erosion. Their report recommends steps to help households and businesses facing bankruptcy and displacement as their properties risk falling into the sea. And Jonathan Brown is on the coast in East Yorkshire. Jonathan, obviously a sea view is lovely, but for some it can come at a terrible cost, can't it?
Absolutely. This report and its findings highlight how there can be a huge price to pay for people living in at-risk coastal communities like this, and you get a real sense of it from where I'm standing at the moment. I'm at a caravan park on the East Yorkshire coast, which, as you can see, is on the fastest eroding coastline in Europe. So much so that some of these plots are falling into the sea at a rate of 2 metres per year, meaning that the caravans are being moved back even in the last few months alone. And this report today by MPs and this committee of MPs spells out how difficult it can be for the people that are affected. It says that businesses and residents are suffering financially. It also criticises the lack of information on erosion given to people buying prospective homes and the levels of support that people get for relocation or demolition of their properties. Its contributors say more needs to be done.
We need more funding, better organised funding. We need to be able to support communities to do their own decision making. So this isn't about a one-size-fits-all solution for the entirety of the UK coast. We've got to work with the people that are there, the places, the landscape, the heritage of what's there in order to find the solutions that really work for those communities.
Well, this report's been submitted to the government for its consideration. This at a time where people say urgent action is needed. The Environment Agency says that around 10,000 properties could be destroyed by erosion in the UK over the next 80 years.
OK, Jonathan, thank you very much. Still ahead, excited fans gather to celebrate the new release from K-pop royalty. And meet Lily, the park run prodigy. Now, it's a ruling that offers a glimmer of hope to Alzheimer's patients and their carers. The medicines regulator, NICE, has been told to look again at their decision not to make 2 new Alzheimer's drugs that slow the progression of the disease available on the NHS. Donanemab and lecanemab were licensed for use in the UK in 2024, but NICE had deemed their benefits too small to justify their cost. In the US, the drugs cost the equivalent of around £25,000 per patient. The price the NHS would pay is confidential, but it's estimated 70,000 people in England would be eligible for them. When the drugs were rejected for NHS use last year, NICE had said they would cost the NHS £1.5 billion per year. And joining me now are Kieran Winterburn from the Alzheimer's Society in the studio, and down the line, Trevor Salomon, whose wife Yvonne is an Alzheimer's patient. And welcome to you both. Trevor, if I can start with you, one of the things that NICE is going to have to look at again is the impact of those on those caring for loved ones with Alzheimer's. Can you just give us a sense of what that is like for you and how access to these drugs that do slow the progression of the disease would make a difference to your life and that of your wife's?
Yes, good afternoon, Romilly. My wife Yvonne was diagnosed in 2013 with young onset Alzheimer's when she was 57. She was devastated by the diagnosis because she'd seen my father succumb to Alzheimer's in 2004, and she knew there was no light at the end of the tunnel and no hope. And over the following years, we watched the person that we loved, a very competent person, just disappear before our very eyes. And as her carer and responsible for holding her entire world together, it was an unbelievably stressful time. So having access to any form of disease-modifying drug that would help sustain her independence and her dignity for longer than would otherwise have been possible would have been absolutely life-changing for all of us.
Of course. I mean, that's absolutely understandable. But what do you think of the argument that has been put forward that the NHS just can't afford this cost?
I understand that. I understand the NHS has to have value for money. But these new drugs have a historic breakthrough. We've never had drugs that were going to help us see somebody live for longer, more independently than they would otherwise be capable of. And given the number of people that are going to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease up to 2050, which I believe will be something like 1.5 million, we need to be able to intervene. We need to be able to give people a life. We need to be able to support their families. At some point, we have to invest in these new drugs.
Right, and Kieran, if I can bring you in here, I mean, that is right. These drugs do represent a significant breakthrough, don't they? Because they treat the cause and not just the symptoms of Alzheimer's.
That's right, and it's the first time, as Trevor says, that we've ever had a drug that is able to do that. And in fact, we're at the moment seeing some really significant breakthroughs in the Alzheimer's space. So we have new methods of diagnostics becoming available. There are blood tests which we hope will be available within the NHS in the next couple of years. And that means we'll be able to diagnose the disease much faster and therefore be able to treat people if we can get access to these drugs.
And clearly they are very expensive, and these decisions are very finely balanced for the NHS and for NICE, but you're urging them to rethink.
Well, at Alzheimer's Society, we understand the decision that NICE took previously, but what's come to light through the appeals process is that actually there wasn't due consideration given to the impact that the drugs could be having on unpaid carers, and that's why we welcome the decision that NICE has taken to look again at this issue, because as Trevor exemplifies really perfectly, people have to give up a huge amount in order to look after their loved ones, and that wasn't taken into account the first time that the drugs were looked at, so we're encouraged by the decision that NICE has taken here.
And Trevor, I just want to give the last word to you on that, actually, because do you feel, as a carer, that often the voices of carers up and down the country who are providing 24-hour care for unpaid for their loved ones, that your voices are going unheard?
There's an army of us out there, Romilly, and we're very rarely heard. But fortunately, our voices are now beginning to come to the fore, and we're all very grateful for that. We hope we can all make a big difference now.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, both of you.
Thank you.
And in other news, an inquest into the death of former world boxing champion Ricky Hatton is underway. The 46-year-old was found unresponsive at his home last September. His family said he'd appeared well when he was last seen 2 days earlier. The government has said it will directly fund the clean-up of some of the worst fly tipping sites in England. The announcement comes as figures show fly tipping on public land rose by 9% last year. And London's Natural History Museum has set a new record as the UK's most visited tourist attraction. The site welcomed 7.1 million visitors last year, an all-time high for any UK museum or gallery. Fans are celebrating the return of the K-pop supergroup BTS today after a 4-year hiatus. The band was forced to take the break so that its members could complete their mandatory military service in South Korea. Today they're back with a new album, and tomorrow their first concert since 2022 will be streamed live globally on Netflix. Here's our entertainment reporter, Rishi Davda.
The boys are back. 1,379 days since their last album, BTS's musical ship sails once again. The ARMY, as their loyal fandom is known, marched into stores to snap up special edition releases.
It feels a lot different to what they've done previously, which I think is really great.
It's a really mix of different genres.
It's more than what I was expecting, to be honest. I mean, being a fan since 2013, I really do think they've developed and evolved as a group.
BTS first hit the scene in 2013 and racked up tens of billions of streams. Credited by many as an integral part of the globalization of K-pop and Korean culture. But they were forced to press pause at their peak, a near 4-year break, allowing all 7 members to complete South Korea's mandatory 18-month military service. After some solo projects, they returned to the studio as a septet last summer and kick off a sold-out 82-date world tour tomorrow with a free concert for 250,000 people in Seoul, which will be live-streamed in 190 countries on Netflix.
I'm meeting my friends. We're kind of like rented a cinema, so we're watching it together.
We're going to sleep over tonight so that we're ready for the morning. And I hope my building doesn't get upset because it's going to be really loud.
Next week, the streamer will put out a documentary about the band's reunion, as the stars of BTS prepare to re-establish their stronghold on pop culture. Rishi Davda, ITV News.
Finally, the average adult takes more than half an hour to run a 5K. Doing it in 20 minutes is pretty elite stuff. So organisers of one park run were very impressed when one of their competitors clocked in even faster at 19 minutes and 45 seconds. And to add to their amazement, she was only 9 years old. The race is now on to work out if Lily Jan Mohammed has set a new British record for her age group, and Philip Syme went to meet her.
For 9-year-old Lily, running has become a ritual. When the school day ends, her training here in her local park begins.
I like running because it makes me feel happy. I feel like I'm free. I feel strong. And the best thing is running in competitions.
A point proven last weekend when she finished a 5k park run with a time of just 19 minutes and 45 seconds. The average for adults is 33 minutes. How did you feel when you realised you'd run it in that time?
I felt very proud of myself and like I'm really happy.
And do you realise how quick that is for someone who's 9?
Yeah.
Nice and bouncy on the balls of your feet.
And helping her achieve it, Lily has some world-class support.
3, 2, 1, let's go. It's an amazing, outstanding performance. Running under 20 minutes for anyone, any age is fantastic. She's worked really, really hard, week in, week out. She's dedicated herself to this, to the sport and to the event. She's, pushing herself.
And with her first mini marathon on the horizon, Lily's athletics career is already looking bright. Philip Syme, ITV News.
There'll be no stopping her. And that is all from us for now. Lucrezia is here with the evening news at 6:30. The news where you are is next. From everyone on the Lunchtime team, have a lovely afternoon. Goodbye.